2009, when the first block of Bitcoin was actually then equally, if you're an IT firm, you may want to look into the area of being a wallet provider. Unlike the physical wallet, the digital currency wallet is not something where you keep. It's not something where you keep. It's not something where you keep currency as we used to know in the real world. So it's a kind of software that actually houses your keys, and these keys are actually into two forms. We have the public keys and we have the private keys. Essentially, the private key should be known to you alone, while the public key should be distributed to every participant in a blockchain, in a cryptocurrency network. Ideally, when there will be transaction between one party and the other party, so such transaction will be initiated using the public key. I.e., if I want to send money to someone, what I just need to know is actually to know the wallet address of that person, which is essentially the public address, the public key. Upon initiating that transaction, the other guy at the other end will only be able to take credit for such transaction if he can prove that his private keys actually match the public keys I used to initiate that transaction. So there are some guys behind managing this software with great security and confidentiality. So one may want to look at that aspect of business as the case may be. In the developed world, government and regulators, tax authorities, etc., are not outside the crypto ecosystem. For example, in the US, digital currency has been adjudged to be a kind of property which capital gain tax should actually be paid on. So, meaning if you have cryptocurrency as a store of value, by the day you actually exchange, that currency for something that is changeable, maybe US dollars or for anything that can be deemed to be disposal, then at that point in time, capital gains tax will be due on whatever gains you actually make from such a transaction. So there are certain statistics that may just aid our thought and decision when it comes to what should we do in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So there is a supply cap of 21 million. So I'm trying to focus the rest of this conversation on Bitcoin. And there is a cap of 21 million BTC that can actually be mined, from inception 2009 up to the estimated date when the last Bitcoin will be mined. That has been estimated to year 2140. That has been adjudged to when the first BTC will actually be mined. The question running through people's minds would just be, what would then happen, after the last Bitcoin has been mined? Honestly, that still remains a great uncertainty. However, most stakeholders believe that no extension of such supply cap will be done. They premise their position or their assertion on the fact that cryptocurrency is expected to reach $3 million thereabout, per unit between now and the next 11 years, based on previous judgment. And when you look at this, one may want to ask, what will lead to such a kind of increase in value? It couldn't be anything than the basic principle of demand and supply in economy that we are taught in school. So and that is why when you look at what is happening from 2009, when the first set of blocks were actually produced, you realize that on a couple of year basis, maybe about 3 years, 4 years, 5 year intervals, the number of Bitcoin being mined or being manufactured is just reducing by a procedure called the halving algorithm. And that is why in 2010, for example, unlike what we expected in 2009, it was adjudged that by 2012, only half of what was actually mined in 2009 will be mined. And that really happened with just a bit of a 2-month gap between that and this one. Between that prediction and what really happened. But currently in circulation, we have 18.7 million. So meaning we have about 4 million thereabout that can still be mined. And why the fee is equally, increasing is equally as a result of the fact that only 22% of the available Bitcoin is actually liquid, meaning those are the ones that can be sold, that can be exchanged between one participant and another participant. And it takes roughly 10 minutes, to manufacture a Bitcoin. However, within a year, it has been adjusted that more than 121 terawatt hours of energy is being consumed. And this has been adjusted to be even more than the entire energy consumption of Argentina, as a country. The same analysis was done in 2010 when the energy consumption was compared, and it was adjusted to higher that of Switzerland. 2/3 of mining actually takes place in China, and that's another concern for the developed world to see probably that most of the benefits will be going to miners that are of China resident as the case may be. And Tesla, we are all aware of electric car, and in 2020, Tesla received a 1.5 billion subsidy for that project, the electric car project. And again, in 2021, the entire world was shocked, when we heard that Tesla has made investment of the same amount, 1.5 billion in cryptocurrency. So, and this creates a serious concern, among stakeholders, as to whether this should be the case, whether Tesla is actually doing the right thing or not, as the case may be. Apart from the environmental conundrum we just discussed in terms of energy consumption of mining cryptocurrency or any Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, there are other concerns. First and foremost, for example, investment in cryptocurrency is not equity or debt based. When you have debt, you issue debt to a company, you know that if the company default, you can actually go after the directors or go after the properties of such company. That is not the case in this instance. Then we have the regulatory risks, as mentioned by Barrister Moise Banure. So the idea is that can nations, countries, or regulators just fold their arms and allowing some potential risks of cryptocurrency to actually capitalize? They are being concerned about the fact that it is being used for money laundering, it's being used for terrorism and some other vices that we want to take about. Another thing is that unlike deposit money that you can say you want to insure in case anything happens to the recipient bank. In fact, for cryptocurrency, there is no recipient bank. It's a peer-to-peer transaction. So meaning you bear your risk, I bear my risk. Nobody is actually there to actually take that risk away from us. We are all aware of MMM, the same way we have a Ponzi scheme in cryptocurrency. And, we have had instances of people that actually bought fake BTC, as the case may be, as you want to say. Market risk is another example. In 2013 alone, people actually lost about 60% of the value of their cryptocurrency. While we thought it was over, in 2014 again, another loss about 80% was recorded. But the truth is that when the cases were investigated, it was realized that they were actually caused by the so-called wallet whales. Wallet whales are actually the guy that has that cross certain threshold when it comes to number of cryptocurrency that an individual should actually have. So when this guy take a side, maybe the buyer or the seller, so it dictates the market situation, and that caused a very serious dip into the value of cryptocurrency, as the case may be. We have talked about taxation, in the US and South Africa, for example. They are actually looking at this. So despite all this, it is actually a store of value. Despite all this concern, it is something I believe people can still, work with without those risks necessarily crystallized. We talk about the risk of losing your wallet, of losing your key. The least of such security is what we call paper wallet, whereby instead of storing your public key and private key on a system, for example, you can have it just printed out and maybe keep it in your pocket, and whoever wants to take it, will need to take it, or you keep it somewhere in your house. It's very mundane, but that is just, it is what it is. Then apart from paper wallet, we have other form of wallet, and the closer you move to cloud, the riskier of scammers and hackers actually getting your key away from you. So we have what we call hardware wallet, whereby you can just save it on a kind of USB or another hardware. So we have the online. You can save your wallet or your key on USB, for example. That is based on hardware. For the online one, you can save it on cloud, etc. Now, with all these issues, we are aware that there are certain or there are many reasons that can actually cause headache. What I believe is that the headache is never a solution to headache. So there should be ways where we can solve all these issues. MMM, as we all know then, wasn't as a sort of cryptocurrency. People were still duped, and issues arose before the CBN actually issued that circular, as the case may be. Then in terms of taxing it, yeah, I wouldn't want to say no to that, because we are aware debt and tax are actually two most inevitable things actually envisage in this. I wouldn't want to dwell much on this. I will leave this for the director from the CBN and our brother in Islamic banking, who I believe will actually do absolute justice to a series of revolutions that have been taking place across the globe. We've mentioned something about US. We have South Africa doing something like that. But again, something that cut across the nation is that some nations look at it as a legal tender and means of exchange, while some say no to such kind of status as far as cryptocurrencies are concerned. Now, this is where the issues lies now. If we are saying no to cryptocurrency or any other virtual currency, what we're saying is that the so-called social media, the social media giants or the information technology giants are actually moving towards virtual currency and cryptocurrency. For example, Facebook launched what we call Libra, as we are all aware of. Yeah, unlike cryptocurrency or Bitcoin that doesn't have identity, there is an identity behind the Libra, which is a collection of about 29 non-for-profit organizations, as the case may be. So Facebook informed us that it will not be the one that will be managing it, but it will be managed by this consortium of non-for-profit organizations, as the case may be. So 2.5 billion users of this Facebook, if they start using Libra to actually purchase services, as the case may be, then it tells us that there's a limit to when and how Nigeria can actually restrict people from using virtual or digital currency. So we have Google, we have Google Pay, we have Apple platform. So we have Tesla announcement, meaning we are likely to see a kind of industry convergence, something that's similar to what happened between bank and telecommunication companies, where through payment system in countries like Kenya, as the case may be, you can actually do banking transactions without necessarily having a bank account. We are aware of such in Nigeria through mobile money. We are aware 3 or 4 entities have been licensed by CBN to actually carry out the payment bank operations. One should be expecting a kind of industry convergence between the so-called crypto economy and other sectors of economy as we move on. If this should happen, there's a limit to the extent a country can say no to cryptocurrency. Yeah, we have thought from several people, across the world, and I think I will just take 2 out of this. I'll take the comment of our number 2 person, where it says currencies in the coming years will challenge, cryptocurrencies in the coming year will challenge traditional banking, including reserve banking, in ways that we cannot yet imagine. So we need to be prepared for that significant shift. So that was Professor Yemi Osinbajo, not something that's far, just this February of this year. Yeah, the CBN equally talk. I love something about the comment from the CBN, because it said at this moment or at this time, I can't even see. So meaning the CBN government is fully aware that whatever we are doing in Nigeria currently, i.e. regulation of ban, is something of a temporary measure. By using that word at this time, his comment as the case may be. And we have a contra view. Bill Gates, for example, is an opinion that you don't go into it if you are not as rich as the Tesla man. So it's just need to look at it and see how it pays you and how your country is actually looking at it. But something still remains. It's very strong, it's very fast, it's very secure. It has come to stay. It will continue to gain prominence from one country to another, though at a different pace. In my own opinion, I would just encourage anyone who wants to participate in the ecosystem to research a lot about it. Create time to learn more about it. Find out what is going on in other countries. and look out for all those organizations, relevant networks, associations that you may join for knowledge sharing, for idea sharing, and direction as the case may be. Again, for anything that is of high risk, you must be ready to enjoy both the pains and the gains, because that is the principle when it comes to investment. So it's just, governed by the same principle that says the higher the expected returns, the higher the risk should be. Then we need to watch out for what few or fewer people are doing. If many people are going for Bitcoin out of 3,600 cryptocurrencies we have, as of last year, does that mean we cannot try other cryptocurrencies and see whether they offer us something more tangible than cryptocurrency in future? Then again, we are Nigerians, we are in Nigeria. We cannot do away from whatever government policy formulation or implementation being on ground. We need to watch out, we need to feel the heartbeat of the government to ensure that our investment is not in the way. So thank you so much. I quite appreciate your time for this discussion.
Thank you very much, brother. Assalamu alaikum. I think you can take over quickly because I'm sure a lot of issues are agitating the people's mind, including myself. But it may well be best to take all presenters first before we go to the interactive section. Thank you.
I think so. And I also think people need to pay some digital currency before they can ask questions. So please send your digital currency ahead.
Mr. President.
We have reached the 500 marks of participants. The technical people will try to see if you can expand the number of participants to 1,000. We have already crossed the 500 marks. And I'm also must announce that we are also live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and other social media handles. I will try to see whether we can get to increase the number beyond 500 so that more participants can come in. Mustafa, please take over. I'll invite the second speaker.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, the first speaker that we have for this great session. Thank you so much, Mr. Hakim. That was really, really great and quite eye-opening for most of us, especially for those that have very faint knowledge about digital currency technology. So as it were, I would like to move on swiftly, as advised, of course, to the next speaker. And at this time, to take his citation, I'd like to invite Sister Azizat Sumu to take the citation of Dr. Bashir Oshodi.
Assalamu
alaikum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay.
All right, you're on.
Okay. Thank you. I'm pleased to introduce my brother, Dr. Bashir Oshodi. He's the CEO and co-founder of Trust Bank ASO, with over 20 years work experience in banking, real estate, and academia. He was group head non-interest banking at Stalin Bank and set up the non-interest banking window since 2013. He also started non-interest banking at Stanbic IBTC Bank and initiated Sharia products at Stanbic IBTC Asset Management Limited. He has completed degrees and programs at the University of Lagos, Said Business School, Oxford, Columbia Business School, Watson Real Estate Center, Da Vinci Institute, London Metropolitan University, and the University of Buckingham. Join me in welcoming our brother, Bashir Oshodi.
All right, Dr. Bashir Oshodi will be taking us through digital currency technology, Islamic finance perspective. Dr. Bashir, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, milakakihi, wa rida nafsihi, wa zinata arshi, wa midada kalimati. My work is going to be very easy because I'm going to be looking at what scholars have done in a little while, the last 5-10 years on this topic. I only have 2 slides, amazingly. All right. The first one, I'll be looking at what I call applied genealogy of the Maqasid, right? What does that mean, really? What's the concern of Islamic scholars, or what are the concerns of Islamic scholars when it comes to digital currencies? I'm, however, going to subject it to several rules, because Islamic finance, or Islam as a as a religion, is based on rules. What are the rules? Does digital currency fit into the rules? If not, why? Or how many rules have digital currencies fit into? Now, everything I'll be talking about in my 2 slides will be about the opinion of Sharia scholars. Opinion of Sharia scholars. I'm going to start very quickly. I won't define terms anymore. It's been done. I'll start very quickly with the Maqasid, which is the primary purpose of Sharia, of Islam. Again, I'm not going to go through every aspect of the Maqasid. There are 5 major aspects of it. I'm going to concentrate on the protection of wealth. The protection of wealth. Other aspects include enriching posterity, faith, intellect, and the human self itself, right? But I'm not going to go there for now. I'll go into protection of wealth, right? In a bit to talk about the protection of wealth, it then makes it very important for me to go back to the foundations of Islamic finance, of this wealth. How do we protect wealth? Now, Brother Hakim talked about the classical definition of money. So again, allow me to start with the definition of money. Because, until the mid-70s, Islamic scholars tried to define even interest, riba. And they tried to wonder, why is riba not acceptable? Before the mid-70s, scholars had argued in favor of, additions on capital itself. Okay, when you have some addition on capital, if it's not too much, it's allowed. However, by the mid-70s thereabouts, scholars globally, Sharia scholars, agreed that any addition on money itself is interest, is riba. They came up with a definitive, solution to the aspect of money. Now, the other part is, what are the things that are prohibited in Islam when it comes to, the protection of wealth? Number 1, prohibition of interest, riba. Interest is not allowed. Again, I've defined interest to say any addition on money itself. Money itself. I give you 1 billion naira. A condition for that 1 billion naira is just 1 naira. That 1 naira is interest because it's a condition for the 1 billion naira. So it's not allowed. Prohibition of gambling. What our Sharia scholars will call misr. Gambling it doesn't have to be regular gambling. Anything, any transaction that has features of gambling is not allowed. What do I mean by that? When you put down some money, another person put down some money, somebody gets everything, somebody loses everything. That's gambling. And you can understand why conventional insurance, derivatives markets, to a very large extent, the futures markets are not allowed. Gambling. Because they have features of gambling, right? Again, I'm not going to start with digital money yet. I'm going to get there as we go on. The other part is prohibition of uncertainty, garar. Scholars have argued, what is uncertainty? There's risk in every business. We're talking about extreme risk. Uncertainties. Excessive uncertainties, right? In business, you can argue that even real estate. Can be uncertain. I was speaking with a developer a few days ago that done a transaction, they sold houses before the COVID lockdown, and the houses now, they need to put in more money. The subscribers need to put in more money. So that's uncertain, right? However, scholars are saying extreme uncertainties. There are prohibited in Islam. So futures markets, the futures market, you buy short, you buy what you don't have. It's not allowed. Many years ago, I was looking at the works of Aristotle, and amazingly, I find some similarities with a lot of things the Prophet said, about selling short, not buying what you don't have, right? Right. Aristotle 500 years before the time of Moses, spoke about that. You don't have it and you're buying it, not allowed. Features. And so when you had the subprime mortgage problem some 10, 12 years ago, you found out that Islamic financial institutions were highly affected because they were not allowed to deal in features. They were not allowed to deal in such derivatives. They cannot do sale of debt. You cannot sell debt. You cannot sell what you don't have, right? So sale of debt, not allowed, right? Even if I create a Sharia compliant transaction using, say, a markup sale or Muraba, I've created the transaction. Then there are expectations in terms of receivables, money I'm expecting. I cannot securitize money that I'm expecting in a sale transaction. So many rules, right? So sale of debt is not allowed. Dealing in receivables, securitizing receivables is also very much frowned out. Now, prohibition of unethical concerns. What is unethical concern? Or what are unethical concerns? Anything that Sharia scholars say is not allowed. They're not allowed. So the Sharia scholars say, hey, this transaction, the way it's been structured, or the process is not allowed. They're not allowed, right? There's a lot of Salam, the of the prophets. There was a case around grapes. People were arguing, can't we buy grapes anymore? And the prophet made it very clear. If you sell grapes to the person or the manufacturer of alcohol, then it's not allowed. But if you sell grapes to anybody that wants to eat it, then it's fine. Sorghum in Nigeria, people have argued, but they use it for alcohol making. Sharia scholars have made it clear. There's nothing wrong with sorghum, but if you put it as part of the process to come up with alcoholic products, then it's not allowed. But sorghum itself is not a problem. The same thing with corn. So Sharia scholars can say this process is not allowed, and so it's not allowed. Even real estate, right? There are certain transactions in real estate. Everybody thinks real estate is fine, but there are certain transactions that Sharia scholars can say, hey, that process is not fine. So a very important aspect of Islamic finance is process or processes. Now, let me now go back to the definition of money. For some of us, the bulk of our research was to define money, some 12 years ago, right? So what is money in Islamic finance? Let's look at the classical definition of money. And again, the time, even from the time of Aristotle, Christ, the prophets of Salam, great scholars, Adam Smith, money was gold or silver with intrinsic value. By intrinsic value, I mean real value, right? So money was gold or silver. So when money was gold or silver, because it had its own real value, right? It was, at that time, a medium of exchange, a measure of deferred value, a store of deferred value, and a unit of accounts or means of payments, because money had its own real value, intrinsic, backed by gold or backed by silver. Amazingly, Aristotle said the same thing. Amazingly, in time of Christ, time of the prophet, and in fact, into the 20th century. Now, the president of the US, Nixon, in 1971, made it clear that, hey, let's produce paper money because there's confidence in paper money. Let's take away the gold value. Let's delink it from gold. Let's take it away. Let's take it away. And so all international transactions were delinked from gold. So gold was no longer, so money was no longer backed by gold, right? So the gold standard was displaced to a very large extent. And so you had paper money. And so Sharia scholars met again to argue that, hey, this paper money we're using, does it make sense? It's no longer backed by gold or silver. And so there's a problem. So the next argument was that, okay, no problem. If globally, in different countries, they accept this piece of paper as a means of exchange, then so be it. So if scholars globally or in different jurisdictions, different countries say, we are accepting this pen as a means of exchange, no problem. We are accepting this phone as a means of exchange, not a problem. So if you accept pieces of paper printed as a means of exchange, of course, there's no problem. So Sharia scholars agreed that money can be a medium of exchange, even though in 1971, President Nixon linked it from gold, right? Other scholars argued that can money then be a measure of deferred value? Can money still be, that's the paper money, can it still be a store of value? Can it still be a means of payments? A few years ago in Zimbabwe, they had a serious economic crisis. And I remember I reviewed the PhD thesis. The acceptable means of money at that time? If you're traveling from one village to the other, or from a village to Harare, you pay with chicken or goat. That became, the acceptable form of money because, the money was worth too little at that time. So they accepted the use of goats and chicken as fair for transportation. And in fact, they also allowed the use of other, objects, other things, plants, as a means of exchange. So scholars have agreed that any acceptable form, right, acceptable in different jurisdictions and backed by the law of the land is acceptable. Allah. I take it again. Any acceptable form, cowries, paper, whatever. No more intrinsic value. Gold has been dropped. However, regulatory-wise, it is backed, it is supported. No problem, as a means of exchange, not a problem. The next argument is a measure of deferred value. Can money under Islamic finance, paper money, we're going to go to digital money. Can paper money be a measure of deferred value? Two opinions, two schools of thoughts. Some scholars have said, hey, why not? Why not? So medium of exchange, everybody is fine with it. A measure of deferred value, there are two schools of thoughts, right? Deferred value doesn't really mean anything. I remember that, when General Buhari became the head of states, in the 80s, right? Some of us were still quite young, and a lot of people had money in their homes. They changed the currency overnight, and the money was useless. People couldn't spend money anymore because the currency was changed, So the argument is, can money then still be a measure of deferred value or a store of value for that matter? So if you had a lot of money in your house at that time, you couldn't spend it, right? So we had some of our, a lot of people then, they had so much money at home, they couldn't change it. There's a maximum amount you could change at that time, right? So can money be a store of value? All the time, paper money. So Sharia scholars, if you look at the red part, Sharia scholars kind of agreed that paper money cannot be a store of value and cannot be a means of payments. Again, I'm going to go to digital currency very shortly. Let me now go to another part, which is under Islamic finance or the Islamic economic model. Transactions, money will be backed by something. Again, gold has dropped, and so scholars agreed medium of exchange, not a problem. Now, if money is not backed by gold anymore, can it be backed by any other thing? Say houses, oil and gas, equipment, vehicles, computers, phones. They agreed that in lieu of gold, let transactions be asset-backed. That is, commodity-backed. Real assets, cocoa-backed, doesn't matter. Now, on the one hand, on the other hand, if it's not asset-backed, can it be asset-based? Yes, a lot of scholars agree. Some scholars have said, don't even worry about that. As long as it's asset-backed, forget about the issue around asset-based. So for those who used to cook, some will argue should it be asset-backed or asset-based. A lot of scholarly opinion has gone there, and the argument is, let's just keep it simple, as long as it's asset-backed. Others have argued, how about if it's service-based, right? There's a service, I want to go for Hajj, how to travel, how to pay for rent, can that be a medium? Can it be backed by such services? Right? More recently, Islamic scholars have argued, they try to confirm or redefine, ijara, service ijara, that's lease, Islamic lease, right? That how can we then make it, how can we have service ijara contracts, right? Apart from regular ijara, regular lease or forward lease, how can we have service lease, right? Again, that argument is ongoing. Now, I go to based on innovation, right? Can you innovate money? Can you innovate money, right? Again, the rule is, yes, you could innovate. Again, if it's backed by the rules of Sharia to a very large extent, and if the government supports it. I go to the next one, Sharia governance. Now, like I mentioned earlier on, in Islamic finance, the Sharia scholar says this cap I'm wearing, for whatever reason, is no more Sharia compliant. There is no Sharia compliant. And so there's Sharia governance all the time, not just for the product itself, but for the processes. And anywhere there are shades of gray here and there, Sharia scholars will have to sit back. However, Sharia scholars also disagree. Again, when I go to the next slide, I'll start to explain the concept around mal, properties or wealth. In the next slide, just 2 slides I have, but I'll get there very shortly. The other part is, as this activity, the use of money, as it improved the economy, the real economy. Again, I call this applied genealogy of the Maqasid, right? Maqasid seeks to achieve 2 things, 2 broad things: human well-being and communal good life. So whatever transaction you're doing, as it reduce poverty, as it reduce unemployment, as it reduce income inequality, as it increase production, productive activities, right? In 1985, Nigeria had a better GDP than China, right? And then now China is ahead of everybody, right? So whatever activity that we have, as it increase production, right? Even Islamic finance, whatever money is going to do, whatever form money takes its shape, as that money, as it improved business activities, real economy, as Islamic finance, as a unique form of finance, are the transaction just Sharia compliant, or have they also touched lives, right? Have they really impacted the economy? We've done a lot of studies, looking at, poverty and inequalities and, infrastructure, and we're yet to see that strong effect. However, maybe it's happening gradually, right? So is it just about being Sharia compliant, which is fine? Or is it about being Sharia compliant on the one hand, and on the other hand, it touches life, the real economy? Now, as money meets this condition, now let me go to features. I think I talked about that briefly the other time. Features, derivatives, not allowed. Intrinsic value, does money have real value, its own real value? Does it? If it doesn't, there's a problem. Fiat money, is it fiat money or is it real money, right? And is there a sale of money, of currency, sale of money on currency itself? Now, let me quickly subject this to cryptocurrency, or if you like, digital currency. So let's go back to all of this. The first and foremost, is digital currency a medium of exchange? Yes. So Sharia scholars have argued, yes, everybody agrees. Like I mentioned earlier on, pen, phone, paper, whatever, goat, chicken, means of exchange. On the one hand. On the other hand, is it acceptable by the jurisdiction? Right? So Egypt, Turkey, Palestine, they said, no, we're not doing this. It's not acceptable. Sharia scholars have said, no. The last time I checked. So because Sharia scholars have said it's not acceptable, right? In some other countries, Sharia scholars have said, hey, come. It looks like, it's fine. Again, I'm going to go to the aspect of mal very shortly. And then they say, oh, because it's fine, not a problem, it looks fine, but they're not sure. We're not sure yet. They say they're not sure. But does it meet the condition of medium exchange? Fine. Is it a measure of deferred value? Right? You can have value in it. However, you can have value in it, not a problem. Is it a store of value? Oh, yes, it's a store of value. You can use to buy a lot of things. Is it a unit or a means of payment? Yeah, people are using to make payments. Brother Abdul Hakim talked about all of the innovations around this, and I can use it for payment. So, from the classical definition, it means that digital money fits in. However, let's subject it to other tests, right? Does it have elements of interest in it? Elements of interest. Can you make money from money itself? So if you make money from money itself, it is riba. It's not allowed. Again, I'm not concluding. I'm throwing out questions. I'm throwing out, just like Sharia scholars do all the time. A lot of writings I've seen, Sharia scholars are throwing questions. So I'm subjecting digital currency to this test, to this Islamic model. Like the Prophet said, I mentioned earlier on, grapes. Are you going to buy it and eat it in your house? Or are you going to use it to make alcohol? Right? So grapes are fine, grapes are not fine. You know what I mean? So again, are you earning money on money without any other transaction involved? So if you are earning money on money, it's not allowed. Every scholar they've agreed, all the scholars globally, Islamic scholars, they've agreed that you cannot earn money on money itself, whether it comes in the form of the stock market or it comes in the form of dividends, from prohibited transactions, or it comes in the form of bonds or T-bills or whatever it is interest. Last time I checked their bits, I realized that interest is always top 3 sins. Stronger than most of the other sins that we think are big. Stronger than them in all ramifications. So apart from associating partners with Allah, killing people unjustly, riba most of the time takes number 3 position. So you can understand how heavy it is in Islam. Riba. It looks so simple. Interest. Money on money. So for digital currency, whatever money you're making, is your money itself? Yes, appreciation. It appreciates. Again, the question then becomes, if I have £1, £100, £1,000 or dollars, and I keep it, and it then appreciates with time. I mean, I've not done anything that's appreciated because for whatever reason, the Naira refused to appreciate. And so because of that, my pound or my dollar has appreciated, right? So it has appreciated. So the question by some Sharia scholars now is Bitcoin, is digital money, is it appreciating because there's money on money itself or just appreciation? Then what is the basis of the appreciation? If it's appreciated on its own, is it subjected to uncertainty? Garar. Almost every scholar accepted that, yes, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, digital money, whatever you call it. Again, I'm going to go to my next slide. I'm going to be touching on blockchain very briefly, right? Just 2 slides. Now, the argument then is it uncertain? Extreme uncertainty. Garar. Scholars agreed that there's uncertainty because you can lose your money. Again, let's not go back to the Maqasid, protection of wealth. Does it protect wealth? No, it doesn't, because it's volatile. In the same vein, some scholars have argued that even when you buy Sharia compliant stock, also volatile, because they can go up and down. And so because they are volatile, so even when Maqasid talks about protection of wealth, the argument then is that but wealth can also be affected, can be unprotected when you buy stock. So you can see the argument, right? So again, let me put that in the parking lot for now. Let's go to prohibition of unethical concerns. What have you traded with Bitcoin? Does it affect the economy? Has it increased unemployment? Dr. Banire mentioned earlier today that yes, people are getting jobs, people are getting busy. So there can be an argument that, oh yes, there's employment, informal employment, right? Then the next question is, okay, is this still prohibited, right? Now, again, in some jurisdictions, Sharia scholars have said, hey, there's nothing wrong. So it's fine in those jurisdictions. The regulators have said, oh, there's nothing wrong, we can manage it, then it's fine. In other jurisdictions, Sharia scholars have said, hey, there's a problem. So there's a problem. Regulators have said, hey, we can't use it now. We're not ready for it now. We want to study it further. Then that is it. The law of the land, right? Again, gambling. Is digital money, can it pass the Messier tests? The test around prohibition of gambling, right? You know, I mean, you know, at the back of our mind, we know that it's going to fail that test because, you know, it's a form of gambling, right? It's just a form of gambling, right? Scholars have also argued to say, oh, I mean, do we need to define gambling even further, right? By saying what constitutes gambling? You know, if I do some kind of transactions, I put in money, I buy a parcel of land, you know, I build, somebody comes and says I'm the owner of the land, you know, does that amount to gambling? Other scholars have said, no, that's not amount to gambling. Gambling is you put down money, the other guy puts down money, somebody wins it all, somebody loses everything. That's gambling. So again, I'm throwing the question open rather than concluding, because I've not been able to see writings that concludes, right, on this issue, right? To say, okay, but does cryptocurrency or does digital money, does it amount to gambling? If it's yes, then it's not allowed. If it's no, then it's fine. Now, because of time, I'll move to the next slide. I'll probably come back to this slide when need be. Now, scholars have argued around which is allowed. You know, more importantly, they've argued around the concept of what we call mal, Beitul mal. You know, mal means property, assets. You know, something that has value, mal, right? You know, now, one of the toughest arguments is around, should mal be tangible or non-tangible? Should it be real? Mal, my property, my phone. I can see it, everybody can see it, right? Should mal be tangible, my house, you know? Other, you know, some scholars have said, no. Even way back in days of Al-Ghazali, you know, 1111, that 1111, right? There are arguments around mal. What is mal? You know, the four rightly guided the imams, the four rightly guided imams. They talked about mal, you know, different schools of thought, argument around mal. What is mal? What is property, you know, to me? Now, some have argued that it has to be tangible, it has to be real, you feel it, you see it. Others have argued that no, you don't have to say it. You know, you can have property in form of goodwill, other assets. So if money is real, you can feel money and see it, it amounts to mal, it's an asset, it's property. If you can't see it, it can also amount to mal, you know, that, yeah, you can't see it, it's not tangible, but because it has some kind of value, you know, it amounts to mal. And so again, that difference of opinion is still there till today, till this very moment. You know, some scholars have said tangible, untangible assets, they are fine. So in that case, if digital money fits into money, right, as a form of non-tangible mal, then it is allowed. The other question now, two others. It will be desirable for human beings on the one hand, or is it capable of being stored for the time of necessity? Yeah, other scholars have come up with these arguments that whatever form of money we have, you know, do people like it? Are people fine with it? You know, before the British came, we had cowries that we're using in this part of the world. Is everybody fine with cowries? If everybody is fine with cowries, if the kings, you know, the monarchs at that time says cowries is a means of exchange, and not a problem. So if they're fine with cowries, no problem. Is it desirable for human beings? That's the argument of some scholars. If it's desirable, then not a problem. Can it be stored for time of necessities? Yes, digital money can be stored. Again, that then takes me back to my initial question around, you know, does it meet these red parts? These red parts are very key. Provision of interest, uncertainty, unethical concerns, and gambling. Does it meet that condition? If it doesn't meet that condition, some scholars will argue that all of these are of no effect. So again, other scholars have argued in favor of natural currencies and customary currencies. Natural currencies are basically your gold and your silver. That's what we had always known in the beginning. All the Nixon pronouncement in 1971, right? Customer currencies are your regular money, paper money, fiat money, which came up, thereafter, right? But everybody accepted it at some point. Okay, paper. Now we're not saying that this money is digital. Now the argument then is, can we make digital money to meet the conditions of Sharia? Some scholars they made it very simple. How can we, just like we have made transactions to be Sharia compliant, right? You want to buy a phone, do I give you a loan of 400,000 naira to buy a Samsung phone, right? And then, I charge you interest, or do I buy that phone first from Samsung and sell it to you at the markup price? Markup price agreed, fixed, cast in stone, cannot be changed. So the question is, how can we then make, and that is subject of research and of course implementation, right? Yes, how can we then make? Yes. How can we then make? Yeah, my time is running out. Okay, I'll try and round up. How can we subject digital currencies, right, to the main conditions of Islamic economy, right? How can we make it protect wealth? Looking at the Maqasid, right? How can it protect our wealth? How can we define it within the realm of being a medium of exchange, and to a very large extent, sometimes a measure of deferred value, right? These are the questions, right? So again, I'm not going to go into definitions, which is allowed, cryptocurrency is allowed from what I've said, our brother Abdulhakeem had given good descriptions. I won't go there, but basically, it's intangible, right? Intangible, right? The form of Mao, right? Bitcoin, the same thing, is a variation of cryptocurrency, and there are many others, right? But let's go to blockchain technology. Why I like to talk about blockchain very briefly is because blockchain is like the process, digital tender, right? Digital tender technology, to record anything of value, whether it is currency or it is assets. If you like, it is an exchange, the exchange, commodity exchange, money exchange, OTC, So can blockchain simply just be an exchange? On the basis of that, on the basis of being an exchange, or a digital ledger technology, we do not see any problem with blockchain. However, I go back to what the Prophet said. Are you selling grapes to somebody that wants to eat it, or to somebody that produces alcohol? That then changes the dynamics to a very large extent, right? So blockchain to a very large extent, a lot of Islamic financial institutions around the world have accepted blockchain, to get a lot of things done. Is blockchain then used for digital money, which perhaps is not accepted in that particular jurisdiction? So if blockchain is used for that purpose, there's a problem. If blockchain is used for the purpose of digital ledger technology and all of that, to record things, anything at all, currency, assets, flow of commodities, flow of human beings, then there's no problem, right? These are the issues. I conclude. Sharia-wise, till today, to yesterday night, I don't know about today yet, scholars are yet to agree whether digital money is allowed or it's not allowed. Most scholars says it is not allowed, right? When I say I'm talking about Sharia scholars, most of them say it's not allowed because it has not met the conditions of this 4 red parts I have here. It has not met the conditions. Then they also argue that it has not protected wealth, onto a very large extent. The other scholars that accept that, but it can be fine, they are saying that even the paper money at some point was rejected globally, when Nixon delinked money and gold. But over time, everybody started to accept paper money, Now, these remain the two schools of thought. Again, my own question is, just like I've done for Islamic finance, my own argument, my personal argument is, how do we look at all of these conditions and make digital money to fit into them, including the approvals of the authorities of the country? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. Oshodi. That was really great and very enlightening, we must say. I'm pretty sure that a lot of the participants are also, well enlightened now as to the Islamic perspective of digital currency. Thank you so much once again. And I'm sure at some point you'll probably be paying zakat with digital currency as well. All right, so let's go to the next that we have on our agenda this time, which would be talking about the regulatory issues around the digital currency. But we're supposed to have Mr. Hassan Bello, Alhaji Hassan Bello, who will be taking us through the regulatory issues. But unfortunately, he's unavoidably absent at this time. So we want to apologize for that. That, being said, of course, we have someone who is also capable of talking about that. And that is not other than Mr. Hakeem Oyewale, who will be talking about the emerging regulatory issues in digital currency technology in Nigeria. Before I have him on, I'd like to quickly display his profile, which will be taken by Mr. Jamiu Yusuf. I'm sharing my screen now just to display his profile. Okay, there you have it. Jamiu Yusuf, please, you have the floor.
Yeah. Mr. Hakeem Oyewale is the Chief Executive Officer of Marble Capital Limited, a leading ethical investment firm in Nigeria. With over 23 years experience as a capital market and investment banking executive, Hakeem was previously the Chief Executive Officer of Stanbic IBTC Limited and the head of investor services at Stanbic IBTC Bank. And after Anderson Scholar, Mr. Oyewale has served and acted as chairman and non-executive director at both Stanbic IBTC Asset Management Limited and Stanbic IBTC Capital Limited. He was previously the head of global market sales in Stanbic IBTC Bank PLC and director of equities brokerage in the Standard Bank Group. He's a member of the Institute of Directors. Hakeem holds an MBA from Manchester Business School, United Kingdom, and a BSc degree in accounting from University of Lagos. He's a fellow of the Institute of Islamic Finance Professionals, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. He's an authorized dealing clerk on the Nigerian Stock Exchange and he holds a professional certificate in Islamic capital markets from the Global Islamic University, Malaysia. Previously the CEO of Stanbic IBTC Asset Management Limited, Mr. Oyewale was nominated as Young Manager of the Year in Nigeria at the prestigious This Day Annual Awards 2006. Mr. Oyewale was also the pioneer CEO of Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers Limited from 2009 to January 2012. Mr. Oyewale has participated in numerous market developmental activities and was a member of the SEC-appointed committee that crafted the 10-year master plan for Nigeria's capital markets between 2015 and 2025, and also a member of the technical committee for financial literacy of the Stock Exchange Committee. He was a council member of the Nigerian Stock Exchange and also sits on the council of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers in Nigeria. He was a vice president of the Association of Asset Custodians of Nigeria. He also served as a technical committee member for the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. Hakeem is the chairman of the board of trustees of the Guild of Muslim Professionals in Nigeria. He is also a trustee of the United for Kids Foundation, a charity that seeks to bring smiles to the faces of Nigeria's indigent children, one child at a time.
All right, I'm quite sure you agree with me. We have quite a rich profile there. But just before I bring Mr. Hakeem on, I'd like to quickly say that for those who are unable to join us via Zoom, please tell them you can always check us live. We're live currently on Facebook and on YouTube. Please type Umar Webinar through the Umar Secretariat page currently on Facebook, and you can also check it currently on Zoom. Thank you. Mr. Hakeem, you have the floor, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me this afternoon. I would love if the hosts would just let me have the right to share my screen. Thank you.
Okay. That's being done correct?
Mustafa should do that. Or the host is doing it himself.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to use this opportunity to thank Uma, for giving me the chance to actually make this presentation. I appreciate the opportunity, especially given the fact that I'll be speaking from a regulatory perspective, even though I'm not a regulator. So I consider it a real honor for you to allow me to make this presentation. Thank you very much. So I'm going to be speaking very, very quickly about the regulators' views, on the use of digital currencies in Nigeria. And we are all aware of what has happened in the last couple of weeks, the argument that has been going up and about in Nigeria regarding how and whether Nigerians should be able to trade in cryptocurrencies. We've seen what the Central Bank did, the Central Bank of Nigeria did. The Central Bank actually put out an instruction, that said that banks should not allow anybody deal in digital currencies. And that has generated a lot of furore, in terms of people arguing whether it is right or whether it is not right. I'm not here to argue whether it's right or not right. I'm going to try and speak as if I were a regulator and the rationale behind why the regulators feel that that is the right thing to do. Now, the whole world currently is filled up with multiple cryptos. We have cryptocurrencies everywhere. The ones we know of, the ones we don't know of, they are already in their thousands globally. I'm not going to speak so much about this because Mr. Akim earlier on Adebayo has spoken to a large extent about what cryptos are, why they are as prevalent as they currently are, and what I'm going to speak to rather is why regulators are a bit scared about cryptocurrencies. Why are regulators scared about cryptocurrencies? What is the reason? I mean, we all know that cryptocurrency essentially meets one of the needs, of money, which is to serve as a means of exchange. And also we are aware that cryptocurrencies are using technology. We all believe and we're all aware globally that technology is the next big thing. We saw how we all became tech guys with the advent of COVID-19, the pandemic, and now technology actually allowed us to live through the pandemic in a very, very successful manner, I dare say. So the question now is, why are regulators scared? Why are they concerned about cryptocurrencies if it is meeting the needs of serving as a means of exchange? We've seen globally, the reasons why a number of regulators are actually banning outrightly, the use of cryptocurrencies in their countries. I mean, the reasons are what we know about. They are afraid about the loss of investment that their indigenous or their citizens are actually exposed to. We saw it when the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, was actually called up to the National Assembly and he explained the rationale, the reason why the central bank, the use of cryptocurrencies in Nigeria. The reason is because they feel Nigerians will lose a lot of their funds, will lose a lot of their investments. And if you have one or two people that have actually invested in cryptos, if they were to tell you the truth, they will tell you that they've actually lost some money, by investing in cryptos. Yes, some have gained a lot as well. So the central bank is concerned that people are going to lose a lot of their investments. The other reason why most regulators globally are afraid, about the upsurge in the usage of cryptos is the fact that it enhances money laundering. It can be used for terrorism financing. It allows the flows of illicit funds across the world without sight of the regulators, and criminal activities are enhanced. So we are not shocked or surprised, that many countries, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's Canada, whether it's Iran, Jordan, most of these countries have actually come up with one regulation or the other, just stifling the growth of cryptocurrencies in their countries. And the next question is, why? I mean, why? Yes, we heard you. You're afraid of money laundering. You want to protect your consumers, but what is the issue with you engaging with the stakeholders? We have a lot of the younger guys, interested in using cryptos, either as a means of exchange to trade. You know, they believe it is liquid enough. We also, when Mr. Adebayo made his presentation, Mr. Akim, how Tesla invested $1.5 billion, you know, in Bitcoin, you know, and we also as well, some of the information provided by Mr. Brand Brooks, you know, a top regulator at the, in the United States, who said that 60 million Americans currently in one shape or the other own cryptocurrencies at the moment. So why are we worried? Cryptocurrencies in America alone grossed as high as $450 billion, you know, in 2019 alone. So why are we having this challenge? You know, we just allowing these cryptocurrencies to thrive. You know, so that's the question being posed to regulators. And what is the response that the regulators have been giving when you ask them these questions? The first thing they say is what I said earlier. You know, it is anti-system. It is an institutional currency that is not financial. You know, Brother Bashir Oshodi, when he was talking to us earlier about the need or the Sharia implications of utilizing cryptos, you know, mentioned the need for us to have a gold standard, which was abolished some years back in the US. But the fact is, in Islam, you know, in Sharia, we like to ensure that we have an asset that backs whatever transaction we're doing, you know, so that we don't engage in riba. You know, so the point is, the regulators will tell you there is no known economic backing for a crypto. So why should they allow it? You know, it is designed to be free from government manipulation. So nobody can actually sanction anybody if anything goes awry. You know, it has no authority at all. So what are our legal folks going to say about it? If I complain that someone stole my cryptos, what are the remedies that are available to me? You know, so the major thing is that the trust element isn't there. You know, the trust element just is not there. It operates a decentralized system. Yes, it is beneficial, but the cost of transaction is quite lower. But from a regulatory perspective, are these enough, you know, to actually overcome the core mandates, you know, of regulators as far as providing a stable financial currency in any country is concerned? So those are the thoughts going through the minds of regulators, you know, and not only the local guys, even on a global level. We have seen the Basel Committee actually giving statements as far back as 2019, you know, to discuss on the impact and the consequences of cryptos. We've seen the Financial Action Task Force actually confirming and actually shouting at the rooftops, you know, that they see the vulnerability of cryptocurrencies to actually be able to allow or enhance illicit transaction, which would be beyond them. I mean, we all know how Nigeria struggled. We struggled quite a lot to be able to be taken off the Financial Action Task Force list of banned countries, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Is the country ready to be put back on that list of FATF countries that will not be allowed to do some sizable financial transaction on a global basis? You know, and when you look at some of these concerns that are being raised globally, you actually tend to have pity for the functions of the regulator. You know, because the regulator, I mean, here in Nigeria, for example, they will say to you that they have 5 core mandates. 5 core mandates, of which the most important is that they must ensure monetary and price stability at all times. For an emerging country, a developing country like Nigeria, tackling that mandate of monetary and price stability is a Herculean task. You know, Dr. Bash mentioned that, you know, you can have your money in Naira in your account, you know, and you can also have a pound, 100 pounds, you have 100 Naira. By doing nothing, the value of the 100 pounds will just appreciate. Nigeria is a country where we are highly import dependent, where we are so dependent on what other countries are providing, are producing before we can survive. And that also has an impact on the currency value in Nigeria because we import a lot. The only thing we export is our crude oil. Our currency is not strong enough, even if you make it to be freely convertible, you know, it's going to be challenging for the regulators to actually provide the necessary regulation. Now add a layer of cryptocurrencies to that. You know, how do you expect the regulator to feel? They are burdened, especially when they see transaction sizes like this, where it is given by on Pixful, you know, that Nigeria is the 2nd largest Bitcoin market globally, I mean, what is Nigeria producing to give us that level of good image, if I can call it that? What are we producing? Our folks are not going to the farms. We do not have industries that are converting a lot of our raw materials. Even chocolates, we are not producing in sufficient quantity, despite the fact that we have such a lot of arable land. You know, we don't have very, very active commodity exchanges. And yet we are saying that we are the second largest Bitcoin market in the world. Any central bank governor, honestly, might not be able to go to sleep well, being conscious of this fact, 566 million US dollars being traded, and Nigeria is struggling to even meet the needs of foreign investors. They are struggling to meet the FX needs of foreign investors, of our manufacturers. And yet you are throwing data at the country that you are the second largest after the United States as far as Bitcoin transactions are concerned. Honestly, I'm looking at it from a regulatory perspective, this is a source of concern. Yes, we are aware of what our vice president said, which is actually from an intellectual perspective, that perhaps the decision of the Central Bank of Nigeria to ban cryptos was a knee-jerk reaction. Perhaps it was a decision that was a bit of trying to kill the ants, you know, with a sledgehammer, or just a decision that was taken, pardon my language, but perhaps was just taken because of laziness in actually having the rigor to interrogate and understand the flows of cryptocurrencies. Because, hey, the cryptocurrencies have very, very useful benefits as well, you know. So from here, where do we go? You know, the area we will see is that the Central Bank of Nigeria did not just come out on the 5th of February to ban cryptos. They've been issuing notes, guidance notes, as far back as 2017. They issued a press statement in 2018. In 2021, that was just when they actually re-emphasized the need that at the moment, the Central Bank of Nigeria is not ready yet to allow digital currencies to be in place. Of course, we have to be realistic as well. Whether the central bank bans cryptocurrencies or not, cryptocurrencies are here to stay. That is a reality that we are facing in the financial system. That is a reality I will encourage each and every one of us to understand. And that is a reality that, whether we like it or not, the central bank will turn around, you know, to agree to in the near future. And we're already seeing actions from them in that wise. You know, but you have some major investors like Warren Buffett that will still tell you that, hey, cryptocurrencies is not under the supervision of anybody, not the United States Federal Reserve, neither any other central bank, you know, and he believes that that currency market will implode at one point or the other. Yes, it might implode, but the fact is, the reality is we just need to put cryptos under appropriate control. But at the moment, today, the Central Bank of Nigeria has adopted the fact that cryptocurrencies are not legal tenders as far as Nigeria is concerned. So anybody that does it, you are doing it at your own risk. You know, and if we review the summary of the notes that Central Bank put out, you know, they actually emphasize to the entities that they regulate, the banks in Nigeria, you know, that no bank must use, hold, trade, or transact in virtual currencies. So the central bank controls the banks. They've given the banks these instructions: do not engage in virtual currencies. They cannot control me, they cannot control you. You can deal on your own, but know that if you have to pass through a financial institution in Nigeria, then you are stopped from doing so. And they are concerned about any suspicious transactions, and these must be reported immediately to the NFIU by the respective banks or financial institutions that are involved. You know, but yes, we are seeing the fact that there are challenges. The central bank is going this way, the whole world is going that way. Where is the middle ground? Especially with the informed commentary by the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I believe, and just like Mr. Akeem Adebayo said earlier, the central bank governor is conscious of the fact that this is a temporary action, and the central bank has actually given room, you know, for further engagement with all stakeholders in Nigeria, You know, a lot of meetings are going on with all the key financial regulators, whether it is FRSEC, whether it's all the whether it's the blockchain committee, you know, whether it's this SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, which actually has a different view as far as digital technology, blockchain is concerned. You know, so we believe right now that the central bank is conscious of the fact that cryptos are here to stay, and they are working very, very closely with the academia, you know, and all the necessary regulators to just put a bit of regulatory framework around how cryptos will be used. We are also very, very happy that the central bank is looking at even launching their own digital currency to be called the Naira coin, you know, in the nearest future. And we believe that if all of this is done, if continuous engagement is done, you know, with all the necessary parties, the IT folks, the Soroseke generation, the financial, the EFCC, the FATF, you know, and we are conscious of the fact that this is a real thing that we need to actually align with. The incoming central bank governor of the United States, you know, the Federal Reserve SEC chair, the SEC chair nominee, you know, Mr. Gary Gensler, actually accepted, you know, when he was being engaged at the American Senate, you know, Congress, you know, that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are transforming global finance, and anything that is transforming the financial landscape of the world is something that requires attention, you know, and is an innovation that is actually going to allow enhancement in how trades are done. The only thing that is required is for the regulators to catch up with it and provide that necessary net, you know, of protection to ensure investors do not have their assets, lost at any time in the future. So to conclude, I dare say that digital currencies are here to stay. We are all conscious of the fact that the regulators are afraid that they may lose control of money and lose control of their mandates. However, the regulators are reasonable enough, you know, they have enough sense of awareness to realize that they cannot do away with cryptos. The level at which it is now is like a moving train. It is difficult for you to stop it. You know, so you just have to find a way to board on the train in the nearest future. So the regulators are engaging with each other. They're engaging with IT personnel. Maybe the pace of engagement needs to increase and needs to be enhanced, you know, but I believe that they will come around in the nearest future and agree that these are the rules for cryptos and these are how it should be deployed. My appeal to everybody on this seminar and on this webinar is, please, let us not just get dampened with the regulations of the Central Bank of Nigeria right now. Let us use this opportunity to enhance our knowledge, educate ourselves on the value and the way cryptocurrencies and digital currencies will be part of us, part of our nature, and part of our system in the nearest future. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Thank you very much, brother. Where is the MC?
Mr. Chairman, you have
I'm very much here, Mr. Chairman.
Please proceed.
You can go on, Mr. Chairman, sir.
What's the next item on the agenda?
I think
okay, we're supposed to take the question and answer
questions.
now.
And I think we should encourage people to put questions in the chat room.
Yes, please. I'd like to have your questions and answer questions, please. Please drop your questions in the chat box, and we'll take a few of the questions because I'm quite sure a lot of us have different questions coming up in our mind at this time. So kindly put your questions in the chat box, and we'll take them up one after the other. And once again, we are currently live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you also have questions on any of those platforms, kindly drop it as a comment in the comment section, and we'll take your question.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have about one or two questions already in the Facebook.
Is it possible for us to group the questions quickly? If it's possible to group them so that you just, for each category, you just read them out to the presenter so that they take them holistically rather than taking them individually.
The questions are coming in now.
Okay, we'll do that.
Be able to do that.
That's the way to manage our time.
All right, sir. Okay, I think I should start with Dr. Bashir Oshodi. I have about 2 questions currently for Dr. Bashir Oshodi. Currently, I have one from one of the participants from YouTube, Monsuru Kuniyi, asking, please note this question, sir. He's asking if will saving money in dollars be considered as mal? Will saving money in dollars considered as mal? I also have another one that is asking express question if trading in cryptocurrency is halal or haram. Those are the 2 questions for Dr. Bashir Oshodi.
Would you want me to take them quickly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the first question around saving money from the Brother Mansour, saving money in dollars, is it compliant or not? Like I mentioned earlier on, because paper money has been accepted globally as a medium of exchange, and to a very large extent, a store of value, a store of deferred value, it means that keeping such money in those currencies are fine, can be a form of mal. And I think today, scholars, I've not seen any case where scholars have not agreed that keeping such is not mal. Yeah, so to the best of my knowledge, dollars, pounds, any currency, including naira, it can be seen as mal. The only thing that in case of naira, it depreciates by 8% every year, since 1985, right? So the second question, is trading in cryptocurrency allowed or not? Again, I try to spell it out. If you're in a jurisdiction, in a country where they put in place the guidelines, the rules around it, number one. Number two, where the Sharia scholars have addressed the Sharia concerns, perfectly well, then it is fine. In our own jurisdiction, unfortunately, like I said, the regulators have not allowed it. Sharia scholars have not addressed the concerns, then it means that it's not allowed. However, Allah must say this. So I think the challenge for us as practitioners is to see how we can solve the Sharia challenges, even before the central bank comes up with their own guidelines. It's okay, we're not accepting it. Before that time, let's meet the conditions of Sharia to a very large extent. What are the things we're going to take out? What are the things we're going to put in? So I think over the next 1 year or so, we're going to put researchers together, including NIFIAN, which is the body that the Islamic finance body in Nigeria, and we're going to give it the kind of priority and address the Sharia concerns with Sharia scholars. Allah.
Well, Dr. Bashir too, another one, which I think is also very instructive, and I read, it is widely accepted that currency requires 2 features. 1, to be a store of value. 2, to be a medium of exchange. How well do cryptocurrencies fulfill these requirements? And if there is a deficiency in either of one of them, can cryptocurrencies truly be referred to as currency?
Yes, in my presentation, I created a model, the genealogy of democracy, right? So on the one hand, there is the protection of wealth, which is an integral part of democracy. We protect wealth. That's one part. On the other hand, there are 4 areas that currencies must also, or transactions must align with under Sharia. So yes, it can be a store of value. Yes, it can be a medium of exchange, no problem. But these 4 areas, apart from the protection of wealth, which is a part of democracy, as cryptocurrency solve this problem, number 1, is it money on money? Is money earned or money received on money itself? Number 2, is it backed by some kind of asset, or is there some kind of if you like, it's just speculation. You know, if there's extreme speculation, there's a problem. Number three, are there elements of gambling in it? You know, if there are elements of gambling, then it's not compliant. Then number four, is it ethical? Has it met the condition of of ethical concerns, or what Sharia scholars would call concerns around what is not ethical? Now, because it has not met these four issues, and because it has not met the giant issue around protection of wealth, which is a major part of the Maqasid, yes, even though it has met the other conditions of money, and so because we are not using gold or silver anymore, we're using paper money, right? But it has not met the four principal conditions of Sharia, and it has not also met the giant concept of the Maqasid, then it is not compliant. So at this time.
Okay, thank you. There is another very important one, although we did not talk about it directly, but I think for the benefit of the Ummah, it's also good. And it says, is Sukuk a speculative investment? Is it really Sharia compliant?
Thank you very much. So, you know, in the case of Sukuk, we had bonds before. We had asset-backed bonds. They were not compliant. Even if you build a house, you know, big house, you know, it's asset-backed. But is it compliant? The process is compliant. You know, even though it's a house, that house is not used for, it's not used for banking, they're not selling alcohol. But even that house may not be compliant, you know. So the question is, how do you make that property to be compliant? And so you then follow the rules. So in the case of Sukuk, it's asset-backed. You know, there's an underlying asset-based. You know, the underlying contract is not money on money itself, you know, which is the conventional bond. In the case of a conventional bond, you are earning money on money. So if you have invested in bonds, it's also not Sharia compliant. But if you have invested in asset-backed that has passed through the Sharia governance process, then it is allowed. So all the sukuk that we have in Nigeria right now, either it's private, you have a few of them, or it's sovereign, or it's subnational by states. They are compliant. And that's because the Sharia board has reviewed the process, they certified the process compliant, and the regulatory authorities, on the other hand, also have their own Sharia board. They've also marked it Sharia compliant, so they're Sharia compliant. Allah.
Thank you very much. Another one, maybe I'll just take one or two more. Mr. Chairman, approval.
Please proceed.
Okay. In the course of your discussion, why is Forex not mentioned? Or is Forex acceptable globally? Then I'm confused. Is cryptocurrency not part of Forex? I think the main question there is that is cryptocurrency not a part of Forex? Foreign exchange.
Yeah, okay. Let me go back quickly into the hadith. You know, the Prophet ﷺ made it very clear that money on money of the same currency is not allowed. Phone on phone is not allowed. If I give you two old phones and I collect one old phone, it's riba. If I give you a nice shirt or a nice top for two old tops, it's not allowed, right? If I give you naira for naira, I go to a party and change money, you know, for an amount higher than what you have, is interest. Money on money of the same currency. Now, money on money or money of different currencies, you know, silver on gold, silver for gold, naira for dollars, pounds for naira is allowed, according to the Prophet. So when I talk about FX, you know, if you're exchanging naira for dollar, it's fine. When you're exchanging dollar for dollar of a higher value, it's not Sharia compliant. Allah.
Yes. Another one for you also. How can the disputes and divergence among the Islamic finance professional and Sharia scholars be resolved for laymen and laywomen not to violate halal issues or phenomenon around what we have discussed?
Okay, I mean, 2009, you had the Islamic Finance Working Group that I've been a member of, you know, organized by FINA. FINA is Enhancing Financial Innovation and Access. It's a DFID program. More recently, you know, we have set up NIFAN, which is a body by, you know, Islamic financial institutions. And luckily, I'm a member of ESCO. Now, what we're trying to do is to address all of these points, including capacity development, including even capacity development in academic institutions, in professional bodies, and solving the current challenges that we have. And they are solvable, and that's why we have gone to school. We have gone to school to solve problems, not to see them as challenging. We've gone to school to combat challenges to opportunities. And so, yes, all of these things are in the pipeline, and I believe that, inshallah, we're going to get them sorted out very quickly, inshallah, together.
Yeah, Brother Kilani, I don't know whether you still have on other platforms.
Yes, I have a question for, absolutely, no, I have a question here for Mr. Hakim, the first speaker, Mr. Hakim Adebayo now. There's a question for you that says that even if cryptocurrency is allowed in Nigeria and is halal, are we not disadvantaged in Nigeria by the digital divide? This is a question to Mr. Hakim Adebayo, please.
Yeah, thanks so much, bro, Mr. Hakilani. But in my mind, I'm thinking that question should be for Dr. Oshodi, if I'm not mistaken, asking whether it is halal, are we not disadvantaged? Number one, I don't have even the little knowledge it required to know whether it's halal or not. So, but if to answer from layman, if it is halal, and we are banning it in Nigeria, the question is to say, what are the reasons? What are we getting in that?
Sorry to cut you in. I'm not sure the question is about whether it is halal or not. Let us assume that it is halal. Let us assume that the regulators approve of it. In your contribution, you mentioned the computing power required to transact in digital currency. Now we're in a country that has a lot of impediment digitally. So I think the question being asked is, if it's allowed by CBN, are we not disadvantaged in terms of the environment, the digital divide, the computing power required to trade in digital currency?
Well, let me put it right there before you. In addition to that, just that you can take it holistically, is the fact that some of us are still ignorant of the process of procurement. Is it in naira or dollar? And if it is dollar, is the dollar available to purchase?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Doctor and the President. Yeah, it is true that if you look at it from infrastructural perspective, one would say we are disadvantaged when it comes to transacting in digital currency. I don't look at it as you be an investor. I look at it holistically, considering the ecosystem. Guys that are making monies are not just investors. Miners, developers are making huge amounts of money. And the question is that in Nigeria, do we have enough power supply to even power our house, let alone of using terawatt hours in actually mining Bitcoins? So that's one specific advantage for us as that may be. Then the second thing is actually knowledge gap. In terms of a lot of us are still struggling to even understand, how it works, let alone of laying our hands on the technology behind it and actually be a kind of a technocrat when it comes to contributing to the crypto ecosystem, as the case may be. Nevertheless, cryptocurrency as a store of value is another means where we can actually make prominent gains in Nigeria. So if, for example, you want to go into crypto market with intention of making that a store of value, I'm not talking about whether it's halal or it's not halal. So the question is that if there is a projection that a single BTC will be exchanged for more than $3 million in the nearest future. So the question is that going for something that worth $52,000 as of February may be a kind of reason anyone may want to actually invest in that. And again, if you start doing something, it gives you that room, to actually learn it before it becomes a true global phenomenon. Thank you.
All right, I still have two more here. The first one is cryptocurrency compatible to paper currency? And why is CBN not providing a bailout for those that have already started before issuing restriction policies? I don't know whether you can answer that question. I'm talking about Dr. Oshodi.
Yeah, let me take that with the question with what even Doctor mentioned regarding whether it's in dollar, it's in naira. The same way we have finance intermediates, the same way we have stock exchange, for shares, for some other commodities, as you want to say it. The same way we have crypto intermediate and we have a exchange market for it. For example, if you want to transact in a BTC, I wouldn't want to mention any name here because of what is going on regulatory wise in Nigeria. But the generic procedures is actually for you to open a Bitcoin account with one of these finance intermediates. And when you open the account, you need to fund your wallet initially. So, and this funding will actually be you depositing money to the intermediate in Naira or in dollar, as the case may be, who then take the risk, take the tax of actually funding your wallet or your account in BTC, as the case may be. And the same way you can transact in the online, say you want to buy 2 items of a bottle of Coke online, then you pay. The same way you can actually log on and say you either want to sell your Bitcoin or you want to buy your Bitcoin, as the case may be. So that is to say you want to be a participatory agent when it comes to Bitcoin market. But if your purpose is just to buy and leave it there, maybe 10 years along the line, now sell and cash out, yes, that is equally possible, through the so-called finance intermediate.
Thank you. Well, this one is, to me, not a direct question, but an advice. Assalamu alaikum. There is a digital currency, cash telex, developed by Muslims, backed by physical assets, gold, real estate, and others. It has no element of riba or gambling. It has e-commerce, online shopping platforms, and very robust Sharia compliance system. The person asking the question think Muslims should look at it. I don't know your response to that.
Okay, let me ask a question quickly. Has it been approved by Sharia scholars? That's my question. If it has been approved by Sharia scholars, fine.
Okay, so we will wait for the response of that person if it has an approval or it has a means of letting us know about it so that we can continue the engagement.
So I think in addition to what Doctor said, we need to be very, very careful. A lot of fake schemes are actually out there. People are aware of the fact that Muslims are conscious of, what is halal or what is haram, as the case may be. So we need to be very sure this is not an approach by schema to actually dupe vast majority of Muslims. So the questioner may actually have more knowledge about it than people like us, but I'm surprised Doctor isn't even aware of it. So we need to be very careful. Let's do our independent search before we rely on such a scheme on the basis of being Islamic scheme.
And let me just quickly add to that briefly, Dr. Bash, just a second, sir, is the fact that one of the reasons why the regulators have been a bit reluctant, if you listen to the central bank and you engage with them a few times, which we've done, is the fact that they are conscious of the fact that people are, like with any other thing, once they see an opportunity, they want to take advantage of it and introduce a lot of scams, that may look like digital currencies, but they are not really digital. They are just trying to fleece you. As I said in my presentation, the world is full of waves of digital currencies right now. Yes, they may put a flavor to it to say it is halal, it is Sharia compliant, it is for Muslims. They're just trying to market it and get a particular soft target. Let us be sure that it is real. Let us be sure that it is approved, just like Dr. Basha said, but we need to be careful. At this stage where the regulator, especially in Nigeria, is not yet confident enough to actually provide some sanctions to this, we need to be very, very cautious. And I also got the question as to why is the central bank banning cryptocurrencies? Have they made arrangements for folks that's a bailout for those that are already trapped? And a few people are already trapped. Actually, they know themselves. I think it would be very, very illogical, for a regulator to bail out people engaging in unauthorized transactions. When we get to that level, it will really be a sad day if a regulator is putting out money for people that have engaged in unauthorized or illegal transactions. Today, engaging in cryptos through Nigerian banks is illegal because the authority concerned is here to give it that legal authority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I was still going to quickly define what I mean by Sharia scholars. So CBN has guidelines for who Sharia scholars are. 3 major points. They must understand fiqh muamalat, Islamic commercial jurisprudence. They must have gone to a formal educational institution, and they must understand Arabic. These are 3 major conditions. So there are loads of other conditions around. So they must meet up this condition, and they must meet up with the guidelines of the CBN, to be Sharia scholars. I thought it's not that I mentioned that. Thanks.
Well, right up to that, Mr. Speaker, is this very important statement from the chairman of Unilag Alumni from Abuja, who said, I believe this webinar is not so much about the appropriateness of CBN intervention than the Sharia compliance of digital currency. So I think many participants are keen to have clarity on whether it is halal. Even if the CBN disallows it, what jurisdiction are we following in Nigeria in terms of ijma by Sharia scholars? So I think this person wants a clear cut, which I think we have been very careful not to do here now.
If I'm to come in again, we don't have any pronouncement by Sharia scholars. So it's difficult for me to say it's compliant, because if I'll say there's no submission to Sharia scholars yet. Again, that's one of the things I will try and pursue this year, but we don't have such pronouncement yet at this time.
Now, another one, which I think is the last one I have on my own part here. Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm greatly enlightened. I say Jazakallahu khairan to all the speakers. My question is, how do we propagate these lectures to a greater percentage of the country population, especially the regulatory aspect of the presentation? So many out are just stark illiterate in the move of government to ban crypto, and the government is not doing enough to educate.
Well, I guess part of that conversation is what we're having here. And I'm sure in the last 1 or 2 hours or so, a number of us have gotten a very good grasp of what the blockchain technology and the cryptocurrencies are, not necessarily as experts. And I'm also aware that the regulatory authorities, and I think the last speaker, Mr. Hakeem Oyewale, also mentioned that they may need to quicken the pace of stakeholders engagement process, but I think that is also on. This webinar is already on YouTube, it's going to be on Facebook, so people also have the opportunity not only to go through them later, but also point attention to those the videos and the other element of it. So let everybody begin to also have a better understanding about what you don't understand, what you don't know fully well. Don't invest in it yet. And I think that's the important thing. Important from the point of regulation and important from the point whether it is halal or it is haram. So this exercise is part of the University of Lagos Muslim alumni contribution to deepen the understanding of the technology behind cryptocurrencies, the Islamic perspective to it, and a current regulatory environment in the country. And I think all the 3 speakers have done a very wonderful job about that. And I think at this point, Mustafa, do you have another thing on your table there?
No, I don't currently. So I think we should just move to the next.
I have a couple of issues to take up from the rear, particularly in terms of this regulation. And I think our brother with Oyewale, I'm one of the advocates of regulation, but again, there are some areas that I still believe that we need to interrogate further. For example, if the core mandate as presented by Mr. Oyewale is that they must protect the currency, the legal tender argument, which is the main one they'll be using against the money deposit. But the reality of the matter, which you need to clarify, is that if I put my money in my bank and I could use it in any other manner that I could use it, buy property, do this, do that, and I'm not using it in Nigeria, I'm not using it as a legal tender in there, which law, legal framework have I contravened in Nigeria? To the best of my knowledge as a lawyer, I'm not too sure that once I'm not using it to acquire or to conduct transactions within Nigeria, I have contravened anything. There is no specific law that I'm aware of today that has said we are banned or it is illegal to transact in cryptocurrency at all. I'm not aware of any such law. All that they have been doing since 2017, as the writer said, is to warn people, which is their responsibility, to say that, look, you have to be careful. This thing appears to be a scam, it's unstable, it's a gamble, and all those issues. Fine, but those are moral questions or ethical issues according to Dr. Uchechi, but not a legal issue. So for me, I think it's an area that we need to interrogate, because if I decide to be banking and using my money, even if I decide to be gambling with my money, people engage in gambling every day, all over, they do lottery all over from their account. Why are you not banning them? If this man has decided also to say that I'm going to take gamble with my money with digital currency, so be it. That is the headache. I don't care about that. Like you rightly said, the reality is that it's only when the central bank is being called upon or the state is being called upon to protect them when they eat the rock. That's their own headache. So that's number one area I want you to address. Secondly, I want to know what is the role of SEC in all this? Security and Exchange Commission. What is the role? Because some people have a very strong view that it's even their beat, not the central bank beat. So I want you to also address that aspect. Now, again, you mentioned something very important, cost relay. People might not take note of it. It's the reality that even a lot of countries like UK and I think US are already developing their own digital currency. So if central bank too wants to, why don't they go ahead? If they know that our people have appetite for it, the way you have given us the statistics, let them develop our own digital currency and let people now run after it. Now, the last one for Brother Yewale is that, well, I think those are the ones that I have for, but for Dr. Oshodi, I have one or two. Is that you said the central bank regulates these Sharia scholars that determines the legitimacy or otherwise of this transaction. What is their profile? What is their pedigree? What is their competence? Both locally and nationally. And like from your presentation, there seems to be a divergence of opinion, except we are using the majority rule. And there's something in law we call tyranny of the majority. The majority might be wrong, might be stupid, might be idiotic, and we still follow them. It has happened, it's happening in our electoral system today. Majority of the people who determine our leaders are bloody illiterate. They know next to nothing, but they still decide who to run us. So majority is not always right most of the time. I think you need to also clarify that aspect for us. Then I think that's the only area that I have for you. Then the other aspect is the issue of which I seem to be arguing with my wife. Is there any extreme, this definition of extreme, I don't understand. For example, take land speculation. People like Shuaib, for example, can decide to buy land in the Buhari estate now for 1 million naira. And waiting that when the thing is 10 million, maybe in the next 2 years or 3 years, or knowing fully well, for example, that there could be some development around that area, which will catapult the prices of those land in those areas, and at least reap at the end of the day as what is, in quote, excessive profit. Would that make it un-Islamic? Because I know that a lot of these things happen regularly. I don't know how un-Islamic it is, but if you buy land for 10 million and eventually the value is about 100 million and you sell it, and the profit might appear excessive. But the reality of the matter is that I do not know, and that I tell you have to educate me. Today, interest rate generally is about 2% in the banking sector. Now, there are a lot of Islamic products giving us return of 7%, 7.5%. How they are doing, we don't know. And with that, again, technically and seriously speaking, maybe you have to educate us, not amount to reaping from on your money, because it's money I gave them. At the end of the day, they are giving me 7% return, Islamic window too. Is that not an interest on its own too? How do you distinguish all this scheme in order not to for it not to constitute haram? That's for you. Now for my brother Akim, I think that the only aspect that I have for you, you probably have even addressed it along the line. Again, the aspect related to tracking. You said these things can be tracked, because the argument of CBN mainly is tracking. We can't track. We don't know the identity. From your own presentation, I discovered that you mentioned those two key elements that is possible to identify and it's possible to track. Then is it not, as I don't know which of the speaker put it, laziness on the part of CBN? They are not doing their job and they want to take as usual, the easy way out as usual. So these are the various areas of concerns that I have for the respective presenter. Thank you very much.
All right, I think I should invite Dr. Oshodi, but just before that, please, I would like to inform us that we are pressed for time, so kindly make your responses quite brief. Dr. Oshodi, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me quickly, Dr. Banira, thank you very much for your questions. I'll take them very quickly. CBN, the phrase, I mean, they're very knowledgeable, very educated men that you have in CBN phrase. 7 of them. I think 2 of them are foreigners. They're very, very knowledgeable. So they are reputable people. Now, majority rule does not quite apply in Sharia. I've been sitting on Sharia board since 2009. I know that out of 3 scholars for financial institutions, if one of them says, hey, this is my reason for not accepting, then, they cannot agree, except they all start to think the context of that scholar's opinion, right? So majority rule, to the best of my knowledge, I've not seen it, doesn't apply. Exchange speculation. I mean, you can make money. I can buy something for 100 naira and make 500 naira, Islam is not really against that to a very large extent. And what the Sharia, what you have in the hadiths is that there are certain goods, common goods, salt, berry, dates, I think one other one, 4 of them, that the Prophet has said, oh, it's 4 things, you can't owe them. But in reality, I buy my house for 40 million naira 5 years ago, I sell it for 200 million now. That's fine, not a problem at all. However, trading in money is what is not allowed. When you trade in money itself, is what is not allowed. So when you buy and sell, no problem. When you buy and lease, when you do partnership, JV, joint venture, no problem. Now, again, let me quickly then address your last question, which is around 7%, 8%. I mean, last Sukuk federal government gave 11.2%. Gave 11.2%, right? If I get money from one client, it gives me 2 billion naira. I give it to another client on basis of partnership or lease or sale, as the case may be, and I make 25% profit per annum. Percentage is mathematics, right? I'm able to share part of that profit with my clients. Again, all of these products have gone through the Sharia board. They've gone through the CBN Sharia board. They're asset backed. They've met all the conditions that I talked about. All the conditions around Sharia, they've met them. So because they have met them, they can have fixed return, even though we like to call them expected returns, right? But all of those ones are allowed. I've just tried to rush through the question because of time. But trading on money is what is not allowed. Trading on assets, I buy and sell phones, I buy and sell pens, houses, whatever, is allowed. Allah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Dr. Akinwale. Mr. Akinwale, sorry. Mr. Akinwale, you have the floor now, sir.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. It's Akim Oyewale.
Wa alaikum salam. Akim Oyewale, my apologies.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Moise Banire, for your questions, and may I use the opportunity to also thank you again for your classic, The Value of Having an Alternative Address. Now, regarding the question of whether there's any regulation, whether there's any law, that actually stops anybody from utilizing their funds the way they like, in the central bank, I'm not a lawyer, but the central bank, in exercising its mandates, under the Central Bank Act, to ensure that there is proper, monetary policy, it ensures that there is the legal tender in Nigeria is under its control, has decided, by its own wisdom, that it still has control over the deposit money banks. And all it has done so far is issue directive to the deposit money banks, that they should not allow any cryptocurrencies to flow through their systems. They are saying you are not allowed as First Bank, as Stanbic IBTC Bank, as GT Bank, to allow anybody settle trades that you can see that's going to be used for digital currencies, virtual currencies through your banks. I can regulate you as I give you a license as a bank. even though I don't have a right to say, you have 100 million, 1 million, 1,000 naira, you can spend your money as you like. If you like, and go and be buying sand. You know that anything that's going to impact the execution of our mandate, we have responsibility to provide guidance over it. And we have determined that digital currencies at this stage will affect the attainment of our mandate. We are now asking you to stop this from going through your own bank because we gave you a license. And if you do not comply, we have the right to take our license back. So what they've done technically, sir, is to exercise rights within their mandates. So that's to answer that. The second question about whether the regulation of cryptocurrencies should actually be under the Securities and Exchange Commission or whether it's the central bank that should actually regulate them. I would say that the Securities and Exchange Commission was actually very, very bullish about this, to the extent that in September 2020, they had actually issued a statement, to the effect that all digital currencies are securities. And by the Investment and Securities Act, all securities in Nigeria are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So the import of that message in September last year was to the fact that the Securities and Exchange Commission Nigeria, SEC, was ready to execute and exhibit authority over all digital currency issuances or digital instruments, blockchain securities, call it whatever, any issuances. So they had actually issued a statement to that effect that they had the right and they were going to regulate that. However, after February 5 instruction direct from the Central Bank of Nigeria, there was a volte-face. There was another instruction or statement from the SEC to the extent that they are suspending or they are slowing down on their initial statement of September 2020. So we could see maybe because there are still engagement going on between the two of them, so SEC doesn't really want to start running ahead, and there will now be looking to the outside world that there's a bit of a conflict. So they say they are stepping down until they have the necessary engagement with the Central Bank of Nigeria. So SEC actually, as far back as last year, already knew and were ready to assume authority over regulation of coins and digital currencies in Nigeria. The last question I got also was the fact that, yes, we understand digital currencies is here to stay. And other countries in the world are already thinking about even coming up with their own digital currencies. What is the central bank doing? Are they still just being lazy? Are they, the answer is the central bank is not being lazy. They are also conscious of the fact that there is need for them to invest in equipping themselves knowledge-wise about digital currencies and regulating it in Nigeria. And to that extent, like I said in my presentation, there is already the proof of concept being going on right now about the issuance of the Naira coin, as a regulated digital currency in Nigeria. So there will be a Naira coin, just like you have the Bitcoin, you have all the other coins. There will be a Naira coin in the nearest future, that will have possibly the acceptance of most people, especially the central bank, and we hope that the market will absorb it. So those are the three questions that I have in my area, and I think I've answered them. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And of course, we'd like to appreciate all our speakers. It's been a very engaging session thus far. This time I would like to, this is what we can actually take, especially on the question and answer session. The next, of course, to take is to invite the president of this very viable and then vibrant association, the University of Lagos Alumni Association, Alhaji Shuaib Afolabi Salis, to make a presentation of plaques to our speakers. Mr. President, sir.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, Mr. President. Hello, Mr. President. I'm so sorry, sir. If you don't, can I just clarify something based on what Dr. Muiz said? 30 seconds should be enough for it. Regarding, So what is actually known is the transaction itself, and that is only known among the network participants. Let me use a simple analogy. Imagine operating a banking system in Nigeria, whereby the only thing that is known about people transacting are just their bank numbers. and the bank numbers is only known among the customers operating in a particular bank. You agree with me? For any regulation in Nigeria,
very soon and put on on cryptocurrency. I will invest in it, knowing fully well that if I can't get my money back, I know quite a number of places that I can. Back to our presenters, and have done such a very wonderful job that you cannot give something physical to people who have come to speak on something that is digital on a digital platform. And therefore, I'll be presenting to the first speaker, our brother Akim Adeba Ogushe, who spoke about digital currency technology and the overview of it. Okay. This is Dr. Bashir.
This is for Doctor.
Dr.
Bashir. Which one are you presenting?
Please, wherever you are, Dr. Bashir Oshodi, just hug your computer or hug your phone and digitally collect from University of Lagos Muslim alumni this very beautiful plug, a little token of our appreciation for the wonderful job that you have done. We contacted you a few weeks ago and you had no hesitation whatsoever to of Trust Bank Author. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you very much, Zakula Haran. I'm exceedingly grateful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I am also presenting the next one. You know, the challenge of this digital environment is that the plaque is somewhere. I'm presenting here, the recipient is somewhere else. This is the blockchain technology in application, okay? Fantastic. This is to very good, brother. You spoke about the overview of blockchain technology. As an IT practitioner and a fellow of Nigeria Computer Society, you have done so well that you have given us an overview of what this technology. For you, I have no doubt whatsoever that you have no difficulty collecting this digitally. After all, you are a Microsoft certified systems engineer. Again, on behalf of University of Lagos Muslim alumni, this award of recognition, a token from us to Mr. Akim Adebayo Ogunsheni, BSc, MCSC, ACCPA, Associate Director, EY. Thank you so much. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you so much. And I confirm my private key perfectly matches the public key of the digital plan. Thank you so much.
Now, last but not the least, it's our brother. You know, I've gotten a number of comments from in the back end, to our brother, Mr. Akim Oyewale. By the way, let me say this openly, and I must appreciate you. as at this time, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, when we had to look for an alternative, and I think it was about yesterday or 2 days ago, that I call upon you to say, we had a challenge. Our initial speaker was unavoidably not going to be available, and I ask you to please step in, and you have done so without hesitation. And your slides on regulatory environment, indeed, as Allah will have it, if you are getting somebody from the regulatory authorities, the likes of Muis Banire will have harassed daylight out of the person. So I'm even happy that it was you who came. Therefore, in your own case, I am only going to share the private key with you. No other person on this platform will see your own flag because it is part of the regulatory requirement. And I don't want to run foul of the regulatory pronouncement by CBN. So if any of you should see the plaque, then it means my confidentiality and privacy has been compromised. So, Mr. Akemoyewale, take the private key from behind and collect this token from us, from University of Lagos Muslim alumni, for the wonderful job that you have done. You put regulatory issues, the emerging issues, in perspective in such a manner that no one is in doubt. And I think the three of you have done such a very wonderful job that every participant, I believe, will have one thing or the other to take away. Thank you so much, Mr. Akemoyewale, for doing this for us within 24 hours. I wonder what you will have done if you are giving you 24 months, a very good symbol of the excellence that the Muslims must always be associated with. Little wonder the many awards that you have won. Even if you are not there, the one you have won today is sufficient enough for us to confirm. Thank you so much, Mr. Akemoyewale. I am going to wrap it up here now. There are so many VIPs on this platform, and I'm afraid I won't be able to say that the parent body, the University of Lagos alumni, the parent body is fully represented here. I can see the chairman of the Lagos branch is also here. The credit reporting organizations in the country are also here. Dr. Tunde Popola, the managing director of CRC Credit Bureau, you are here. I saw earlier on Mr. Jayola, the Director General of Nigerian Economic Summit Group, you are here. I am extremely delighted that, even though we have said some Islamic perspective of it, the participants here cut across all faith, all religions, all geography, all professions, and this is very exciting for us. So, Mr. Jayola, thank you. I could see Professor Yahya. Professor Yahya is the Executive Secretary of Muslim, the Muslim in Southwest Nigeria. You are here. I must also thank you very sincerely. As I mentioned earlier, the chairman of the BOT, who retired as the deputy of Nigeria Stock Exchange and is currently the president of Muslim in Southwest Nigeria, Muslim, Alhaji Rasaki Oladejo. Let me use my prerogative to bring Alhaji in, just to say a few words as chairman of BOT and as president of Muslim, and also somebody who graduated from University of Lagos in economics at a time when there was even no paper currency. I think they were using cowries then. So, but his economic is still very, very, very relevant because he kept himself busy. Alhaji Oladejo, you want to say salam alaikum to the house, chairman of BOT. I know time is fast. I can't wrap this up without calling you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President?
I can hear you, sir, Chairman BOT.
Thank you very much, for this very successful webinar. Very successful. You're always doing something big all the time, We know you for that, I want to thank I want to thank the speakers for a job well done. I think they have enlightened all of us, and then my young son, the brother to my son Akim Oyewale, I also thank you also, especially for being here today, and then filling the gap very well. I think all of us today have learned a lot about this new currency, new securities, and we know how to benefit from it when the CBN finally lifts the ban on the use of cryptocurrency. I know that I'm speaking for majority of the members who have attended this webinar today, that we thank the Ummah under the presidency of Shuaib Salis for a job well done. Thank you very much. Jazakumullahu khaira.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to also recognize and thank members of the Companion, the Criterion, and the Lighthouse family. You are here. Thank you so much. We apologize that at the point we hit the 500 mark. We underestimated the interest and the participation that this program has generated. We will take this into consideration for our next program. And our next program, which I'm going to announce shortly to you. But before then, let me also do the industry job. The Nigeria Computer Society, of which I am a fellow, is also organizing a similar program, cryptocurrency.
All right.
Mr. President, we cannot hear you
Mr.
any
President,
longer.
we can't hear you at this time. I think the network is a bit challenging at his hand. Okay. While we wait, President, to come back up, at this time, I'd like to invite someone, of course, to give the vote of thanks and by implication, or the Hajia Mujidat Isiaka to please give vote of thanks, please. Hajia Mujidat Isiaka, can you give vote of thanks? Please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, that we planned and we were able to execute this program. We thank Almighty Allah for ever being there for us. I want to particularly thank our Board of Trustees, headed by the Chairman, Alhaji Rasaki Oladejo. You heard from him shortly, a while ago. May Allah continue to be with you all the days of your life, and may Allah continue to increase you in knowledge and wisdom.
Amen.
We would like to appreciate the Unilag Muslim Alumni National Executive Council, being led by our able president. We also want to appreciate facilities stage Iran to you, our brother Akim Adebayo Ogunsheni, our brother Bashir Oshodi, who happened to be my classmate at Madrasa at Lekki Muslim Ummah. Hello, please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
We can hear you. You went up
Okay.
a bit. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we appreciate our speakers, and may Allah continue to increase you in knowledge and wisdom. And may you have the reward fi dunya wal akhirah. Amen. We want to appreciate the companion, the criterion, our lighthouse members, Umar family and friends, home and abroad, brothers and sisters in Islam. We equally want to appreciate Professor Arigbabu, our own sister, the Ogun Deputy Governor, Sister and Ajia Noimot Salako Yedele, for ever being there at our programs and for all the support. We want to appreciate the Deputy President Unilag Alumni Main Body, Dr. Fashi Yusuf. He has been in this program since we started and is still on. We want to appreciate Dr. Olowo Jebutu, the Chairman Unilag Alumni Lagos Branch. We want to appreciate Unilag Muslim Alumni Chairman of Abuja, Alhaji Demola Raji, and of course, for Lagos Branch, Dr. Assis Ademola. We appreciate you. We want to appreciate Professor Wasiu Adeyemo and our own professor and sister Fatima Abdulkarim. We say Jazakumullah khairan to you, Professor Waki Ishola, the HOD Economics University of Lagos. We continue to appreciate our audience, the public, that whenever they hear Unilag Muslim alumni, either for Ramadan lecture or any other lecture, we don't know you, but Allah knows you. And we know that the reward for good is good. We say Jazakumullah khairan, and we believe that anytime we call upon you again, you'll be there for us, whether physical or virtual. We say Jazakumullah khairan. We appreciate everyone for being there with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Ma, for that beautiful closing remark that we have there from Sakina. Thank you so much once again. Now, speaking about the pre-Ramadan lecture, one of the ravaging and the converging point or program that a whole lot of people are looking forward to, this year's edition, inshallah, will be coming up on the 11th of April. We want you to look at and be very well assured we're working out the logistics as to actually bring that to your doorstep with lots of speakers, heralded scholars that we have in the Dean to talk about, the theme of this course as spoken earlier by the president, something that binds us together as Nigerians and not only as Muslims. Not to waste too much of your time, I'd like to quickly call on the chairman of this great event to please give us a closing prayer. Please, Malam Abdul Kabir Kuye, can you please take us through a brief closing prayer?
Is the chairman of the planning committee, not the chairman of the event. The chairman is Dr. Moise Bani.
Oh, my apologies.
Before you will now set me up. Yes. Alhamdulillah, we can't but thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the success of this event. We say Alhamdulillah. Also, we want to appreciate Allah's mercy and Allah's rahmah, because strictly by His rahmah and His mercy that we are able to plan for this event and successfully host it. We pray to Allah to accept it from us, more importantly as an act of ibadah from each and every one of us. The messages is not just for our academic benefits, but it's also because of our dunya and our akhirah. May Allah continue to make us stand firm on this path. May Allah continue to make us better Muslims. And we pray to each and every one of us, our fathers, our speakers, and all our participants at the event. May Allah continue to bless us and guide us as we continue to make our mark on this surface of the earth. May Allah make us all have a wonderful life and grant us the best in Jannah. Al-Fatiha.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim.
مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. All right, thank you so much, everyone. We thank you so much for joining us in this wonderful program today. We'd like to appreciate your presence. We would never take that lightly at all. Again, I'm very sure everyone is waiting for that. Greatest Akokite. I wish everyone could respond to that.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much once again. I will call it a day. Well, for those who are yet to also get a degree, 1 or 2 from the University of Lagos, of course, the window is always open. The door is always open for you to, get yourself a degree from the University of Lagos, the University of First Choice, and the nation's pride. Like we always say, there are only 2 universities in Nigeria, Unilag and others. Thank you so much once again. I've been your moderator today. My name is Mustafa Kilani. And till we meet next time, I say to you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If you need a copy of this program, you can indicate later, but digital currency will not be allowed. You pay for it either in dollars or pound sterling and paper currency.
Mr. President, many of the participants had indicated on the chat room their email address.
Yes, we will advance the email address and possibly just advance this recording and then send to them a link where they can download it. I'm Kabir. I've done such a very wonderful job. I'm so proud of you, and as I am indeed of every one of you. Mustafa, that was a wonderful.
I'm just seeing you now. I'm just seeing you now. Salam alaikum.
So, I think it's such a very wonderful outing. Dr. Bashir Oshodi, thank you one more time. Our brothers, Akim Adebayo, and then of course, Oyewale, 2 of you have been very wonderful. All of you have been very wonderful in your presentations. Members of the Criterion, I thank you for always being there. The Companion, AMP, Moswen, all the BOT members, I can see quite a number of them here. But I like your YK of Karim, of course, Moise Banere, our chairman, Professor Olekun Abudu, Elijah Otun, and a number of other members of BOTs, Honorable Commissioner Professor Aregbabu, who is also a digital commissioner. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate this solidarity from members of the State Cabinet. Members of Lighthouse, I can see you. Elijah Adebesho from London, thank you for joining from London. When next you want to send money home, do it through the Western Union, the real money, okay? And I think we should all go and start preparing for the pre-Ramadan lecture. Let's make it another BAM event again. It's on the 11th of April, and the topic is also very, very relevant. Though tongue and tribe may differ, interrogating Nigeria's nationhood. I will not announce to you the speaker that we have lined up for that occasion, inshallah. But they will also come, and we'll talk about Nigeria, what we need to do to build this nation together. What are the challenges? And that comes about a month from now. So please look out on the UMA platforms, on the social media handles. We will also be announcing that. And we are bringing people from north, south, east, west to come and discuss this country and how we can work together to make it a greater country that works for all of us. There's so many names I can see here. Professor Fatima Ibiade Abkarim, Professor Simeon Olanike Elias, Alaja Miriam Motunrayo Alimi. I can see a number of them. Alaji Lere Alimi. My predecessors in office, Lere Alimi, YK Karim, Shalabelo, Shalalado, sorry. My body, my friend, Fatah Bolaji Odun, I can also see you here. Very many people that I'm not able to, and of course, the Salisus are here in their numbers. Thank you so much for the solidarity. Professor Khalid Adekoya, my deputy president, always supportive, always reliable, and you are chairing the next program, the Ramadan lecture, and I'm sure that it's going to be even a better improvement, an improvement on this one, inshallah. So you can go and begin your weekend now. And then if you like, you can begin to put suffix after your name to indicate that you are a graduate. When we are at the University of Lagos, and I'm talking about the old generation, I'm not talking about the Sorosoke. There was a course called Integrated Social Science. They used to do a little of philosophy, a little of sociology, a little of mass comm, a little of psychology. They had so much time on their hand that they used to be president of the student union. So today is also you have also graduated from not integrated social science. It is integrated finance, Islamic finance, and digital currency. So you can begin to put some suffix after your name. And if anybody asks you where you got it from, tell them from University of Lagos Muslim Alumni Academy. Okay, so Mondia, you can use that in the office to get a promotion. Yeah, you can present that in the office to get a promotion. Professor Simiat Elias, Grandma, Alaja Amira Malimi, all those of you who are owing me good food, do so now before Ramadan comes. Oh, anybody wants to settle me now should settle me before Ramadan comes now. So at this point, I have to exit for yet another function. Thank you so much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brother Hakim, you are raising up your hand. You want to say something?